The Plaza de Bolívar in Bogotá has more history than pigeons. Since its foundation, it has been called in different ways. At first, it was known as La Plaza Mayor. After independence, it was called La Plaza de la Constitución, and since 1846, it is the emblematic Plaza de Bolívar.
It's located in the center of the city between Avenues 7th and 8th, with the streets 10th and 11th. Has an approximate extension of 13,903 square meters and a maximum capacity for 55,600 people. This historic square, which is now the meeting point of protesters and the place to be visited by national and foreign tourists, was also a scenario for executions hundreds of years ago, as several national heroes were shot there.
Centuries ago, circus shows were made there. Proclamations and festivities were made by new monarchs or Spanish viceroys. It was a marketplace, and also great state funerals were held. In addition, there were bullfights and all kinds of social, civil, and cultural events.
Today, the plaza is traveled by foot or bicycle and has not stopped being the place for political, cultural, social, and religious meetings. It also remains the meeting point of friends, students, merchants, and artists. Currently, there are protests, peasant fairs, and even concerts. The years pass and it has not lost its essence.
The Spanish, following a Roman tradition, built public, religious, and civil buildings around the Plaza Mayor. On the south side, the Viceroy's Palace and the first prison in the city were built. To the southwestern side, today the Greater Mayorship, the Cabildo worked, later the Galleries Arrubla, which is the commercial warehouse, and other public buildings. In the northeastern part, religious buildings were erected, such as the cathedral and the Church of the Rosary. On the north side, ending the year 1800, the construction of the Congress began.
(1538 to 1583). In the center of the square was built the pillory, a stone column where people used to receive punishment.
1681. A fountain of water is installed for citizens' usage, who came with vessels to stock up the water. Also, the bullfights that were celebrated were prohibited at 4 when the square got closed.
1776. The Viceroyalty building was burned.
1806. The Capuchin monk, Friar Domingo de Petres, the first professional architect in Bogotá, designed and directed the construction of the primate cathedral of Colombia, located on the eastern side of Plaza.
1842. The construction of the headquarters of the Congress of the Republic began, just in the same place where 62 years before the Viceroyal Palace was destroyed by a fire.
1861. The purchase and sale of food in the Plaza de Bolívar, traditional market, is prohibited.
(1876). The Congress of the Republic ordered to put in the center of the square a bronze statue of General Simón Bolívar that looked towards the cathedral. In 1880, it was faced with the Capitol. This statue replaced the fountain of water.
(1881). The Minister of Public Instruction, Ricardo Becerra, ordered the construction of an English-style garden around the statue, surrounded by iron bars. 1883. 4 water sources were installed on each side.
The 19th century, several blocks were illuminated in Bogotá, including the Plaza de Bolívar. The people socialized in the high steps of the church. This was the meeting point of the people.
(1900). Due to a fire, the Arrubla galleries were destroyed.
(1907). Through the 7th Street, in front of the cathedral, the first cars parade.
(1927). 4 water fountains with lights are installed. This would transform the image from village to city.
(1948). With the death of Jorge Eliezer Gaitán, the square becomes the scenery of the burnings of trams and trenches for the soldiers.
(1960). Fernando Martínez makes the last remodeling of the square with a more Renaissance sense. The water sources were eliminated and the square is maintained as it's currently known.
The city grew around this square. The people who lived close to the plaza were the most loyal and respectful ladies and gentlemen, the cream of society, while the people who lived farthest were mixed race, peasants, and some indigenous or humble people. Today, there are also people who live from the work they do in the Plaza de Bolívar, the photographers, those who sell corn to feed the pigeons, the tour guides, the sellers of ice cream, candies, and junk food.
This emblematic place, full of history, will continue to delight with the secrets it keeps and in being that place that all tourists want to visit and all citizens want to keep.
The Primate Cathedral. Despite the earthquakes and architectural mistakes which have caused it to be rebuilt several times between 1538 and 1823, it has remained wonderful in the eastern side of the Plaza de Bolívar for several centuries. The Capuchin architect cleric Fray Domingo de Petres was responsible for its latest remodeling. Its walls house remains of national heroes and figures of national life, among which stand out Gonzalo Jiménez de Quesada, Antonio Nariño, the painter of the colony Gregorio Vázquez de Arce y Ceballos. Additionally, an extensive collection of books dating from 1612 is under its custody.
La Capilla del Sagrario. The most valuable works of the renowned painter Gregorio Vázquez de Arce y Ceballos, a legacy of religious relics with themes of the Old and New Testaments made in the years in which he remained imprisoned, are housed inside. The construction that began in 1660 and was completed in 1700 was carried out by Mr. Gómez de Sandoval, who finally did not see the finished temple.
The national capital. Definitely an architectural work worthy of being admired by all its visitors and passers-by. With its neoclassical and Renaissance style, it is a reflection of the political transformation in Colombia. It was built under the presidency of Tomás Cipriano de Mosquera in 1847 and completed in 1926. This building has three large rooms, one for the Senate, one for the House of Representatives, and the third, where the Congress meets in plenary.
The Liévano Building, headquarters of the Mayor of Bogotá. All the western side of the Plaza de Bolívar is held by the headquarters of the Mayor of Bogotá. This rectangular building of 3 floors and also a neoclassical architecture, just as the other buildings, began to be built on 1902. Its style is characterized principally by the central court and the stonework. The first time that a liberal mayor walks through the building's hall was the 1st of January of 2004 when Luis Eduardo Garzón was possessed as the mayor of Bogotá.
The 20th of July of 1810 Museum or Base House. It's impossible that the green terrace which lifts the Colombian flag go unnoticed to any visitor of the Plaza de Bolívar. It's a house from the end of the 16th century and beginning of the 17th century, with an Arabic style typical from the colonial buildings. It's characterized by its white walls, doors, windows, and green balconies. On 1810, different establishments functioned there, being the most important the one from the Spanish José González Llorente, where were triggered some of the events who gave Colombia its independence. The confrontation was unleashed the 20th of July of 1810 by a vase loan, leading to the known independence shout. Nowadays, visitors can appreciate the museum exposition, which is distributed in nice rooms: the vase room, the act room, the heroes room, the supreme meeting room, Bogotá's room, Antonio Nariño's room, the heroines room, the Bolívar and Santander's room, and an oratorium.
The Justice Palace. The first building of the court was built on the 11th Street in 1921 and was destroyed because of fire in the renowned time the Bogotazo in the month of April of 1948. Later, it was built a new building who was also destroyed by the guerrilla M19, remaining the ruins for 4 years until it was fully demolished so that it could be built a new one.